Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. Not your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Hi, folks. Welcome back. From timcast.com. Update. Senate Republicans Manchin block Women's Health Protection Act. Yeah. You know, I'm going to go into a little bit of detail I think really went on and the reasons why they had the vote now. Let's read the headline. Make no mistake, it's not about Roe v. Wade codification. It's an expansion. It wipes 500 state laws off the books, said Senator Joe Manchin. And he's right. It does. The compromise was Roe v. Wade basically said in the first trimester, you have the right to terminate the pregnancy, aka abortion. No state can change that. Now, they might be able to make it later, second, third trimester, which really gets dicey, but they can't enact any laws at the state level to block anything in the first trimester. That's my understanding of the Roe v. Wade nuts and bolts, put to a really, really simple sentence. And, of course, the Democrats do what they always do. They go too far. Now, what's interesting, you'll see some of the wording they use, I find is just, I'm going to tell you, these people are nuts. On Wednesday, Senate Republicans were joined by Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat, West Virginia, in opposing an effort to codify abortion rights in the United States in response to a leaked draft that indicates the U.S. Supreme Court is set to overturn Roe v. Wade. And it just shows you that I'm not going to show you the video. It just shows Joe Manchin voting no. And then he goes to walk over to Chuck Schumer. And Chuck Schumer basically puts his hand up, like blows him off. Manchin says something to him and walks away. Schumer calls him back. And he scoots right over to Schumer and talks to him. Now, I have no clue what they talked about, nor do I care. The attempt fell short of the 60 votes required. Now, they didn't waive the filibuster rule, so they needed 60 votes. Now, let's talk about this for a minute before we go in the nuts and bolts of the just absolutely absurd bill the Democrats put up. And by the way, all 49 Democrats voted yes, one voted no, Manchin. So that will basically say all the Democrats voted for this bill. Interesting. It's very interesting. This can't be about politics. No. They've tried to put, now in this cycle, the Senate runs a third of the Senate's up for re-election every 2 years, a 6-year term. Now, in this particular cycle, by just a fluke of luck, the vast majority of seats being defended are Republicans, incumbents. This is going to be interesting. So some of the closer races maybe where a Republican is in a somewhat leaning red state, they're trying to put that kibosh on them and turn women. And what they'll do is if a Republican U.S. Senator voted against this, there'll be commercial after commercial after commercial after commercial after commercial, and that's all they'll slam him about, or she, continuously. And then what has to happen is that individual's got to defend themselves, which is a lot harder than accusing somebody. It's much harder. It's like the old standard example when the reporter puts a microphone in your face and says, sir, when did you stop beating your wife? That's basically what it comes down to. But let's get into some of the nuts and bolts of this, because they did it to themselves. And I'm wondering, honestly and truly, I'm wondering if, like Democrats always do, they care about having the issue to bitch about and complain about and pound on to their political enemies rather than solve the problem and come to a compromise. Manchin was right. If they had put in what Roe v. Wade first trimester only, the states shall not infringe, then I think they might have got to 60, or it would have been a lot closer, that's for certain. It would have been at minimum 50-50. Women's Right Protection Act, H.R. 3755, passed the House in September, but failed to pass the Senate when it was put to a vote in February. Is being offered up again with amendments related to the potential reversal of the landmark 1973 court decision. However, expected to fail without the support of the Republican members of the chamber. The bill is focused on permanently securing access to the abortion service in the United States regardless of a ruling from the Supreme Court. Abortion services are essential to health care, and access to those services are central to people's ability to participate equally in the economic and social life in the United States. So having an abortion allows you to participate equally and economically in social life in the United States. Yeah, okay. The measure refers to an abortion access as reproductive justice. Does this sound like SJWBS? Yep. Defines the term as follows. Now, this is the part where they start getting into these people are nuts. And I'm surprised that, I wouldn't expect any of the Democrats there to have the backbone to say no. But they see paragraphs like this and they just cringe. Let's just go to this one paragraph. I would vote no just for this reason. A human right that can be achieved when all people, regardless of actual or perceived race, So that means I'm a white male, I'm 65. I want to identify as a black female. Doesn't look like I'm black to look at me. Perceived race. What the hell does that even mean? Or perceived color, or perceived natural origin, perceived immigration status, or sex, including gender identity, sex stereotyping. I mean, look at this. Sex stereotyping. I will do the whole paragraph because I think the whole thing is a piece of crap. Or sexual orientation. Sexual orientation I get. Sex stereotyping and gender identity. So if you're a biological woman and you're a biological woman and you want to be a trans man, you can still get pregnant. That's what they're referring to in the gender identity. Oh my gosh. Or disability status, have the power. Disability status I'll go along with too. Age I'll go along with. And resources to define and make decisions about their bodies, health, sexuality, families, and communities in all areas of their lives with dignity and self-determination. Blah, 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 blah. You know what's funny? The power and resources to determine and make decisions about their bodies and their health. Where were these a-holes when people were getting fired from their jobs, when the frontline medical workers at the beginning of the COVID pandemic were heroes? Just praised all the media. What amazing Americans they were. And then less than a year later, they were all told either get the VAX or you're fired. And tens of hundreds of thousands were fired in the medical field alone, let alone God knows how many businesses, law enforcement, people that deal with justice and justice system and courts, elected officials. I mean, the list goes on. City, county employees, state employees. I mean, the list is endless. Power and resources to define and make decisions about their bodies. These people suck so bad. So bad. Unbelievable hypocrites. According to the bill, this is most affected by restrictions on abortion are people with low incomes, BIPOC, immigrants, young people, people with disabilities, and those living in rural and other medically underserved areas. I don't think when they put young people in there that many senior citizens would need an abortion. Jeez, you know what? So who cares if you're an immigrant? Equal application of the law. But they got to put all these exceptions in here because what that is, it's virtue signaling. The bill says that any change to safe and legal actions of abortion affects every person capable of becoming pregnant. Can't put women, because then the progressives, which is the only base they have left, would go nuts. Which the bill identifies on the term woman or women. The bill seeks to remove restrictions at the federal level that limit access to abortion-making services legal regardless of local laws. If passed, the bill would override hundreds of state laws concerning abortion nationwide. Now, I've complained. I've said it myself that Roe v. Wade was bad law because it wasn't passed at the federal level. But is this an honest attempt at making federal law concerning abortion, since the House passed it, of course? I don't know what the vote was on that. I bet you it was a lot closer than you think. The bill seeks to remove numerous restrictions, blah, blah, blah. Additionally, they seek to remove restrictions on prescribing abortion-related drugs, including drugs used in medication abortions, which is the vast majority of abortions, I'm told, is just taking a pill. In some states, they have it over the counter, which is amazing to me. Moreover, lawmakers seek to remove any required delays or additional information visits on behalf of the patient seeking an abortion. According to the bill, removing this restriction will allow for immediate abortion services. Many states have women talk to a counselor, basically, in essence, trying to talk them out of having the abortion and seeking an alternative, i.e. keep the baby, adoption, etc. Those would be eliminated. Requirements related to credentials, facilities, and locations of abortion service and bars will also be eliminated by that bill, so those people can't be found. This is just amazing to me. The bill also seeks to remove a prohibition on abortion after fetal viability, when in the good faith medical judgment of the treating healthcare provider, continuation of pregnancy would pose a risk to the patient's life or health, thereby conceivably allowing for late-term abortions, and it would. And here's why. Patient's life or health. Well, I think dying would be a health concern. I think there isn't anyone that's not a doctor, or it is a doctor, that's saying part of your health concern is staying alive. Patient's life or health. Patient's life. That is so vague. In other words, if they'll be coached, a woman will say, I'm in my 8th month, almost 9th month. I'm having all kinds of mental problems with this pregnancy, and I'm going to take my own life. They'll probably coach them to say that, and they'll say, okay, abort the baby. It might not be that easy, but if they stick by their story, they'll get what they want in the end. Being that the woman is the 7th or 8th month of her pregnancy, they won't delay it because she'll end up giving birth. And there it is. 2 lousy words and a huge bill, I'm sure, that tells the real story. Abortion right up until birth. Let's not kid ourselves. That's what that is. That's why it didn't pass with 60 votes. I'll bet you there's some Republicans that will go along with the compromise, and I wouldn't criticize them that much, because compromise is what this country is all about. It was based on, it was founded on. The bill reiterates this by saying it to remove a requirement that a patient seeking abortion service at any point or points in the prior to the fetal viability disclose the patient's reasons for seeking abortions, which the bill says can be based upon the patient's actual, perceived, or potential reason or reasons. Again, perceived. Doesn't have to be true for obtaining an abortion. It further seeks to remove the restriction regardless whether the limitation is based on the healthcare provider's degree of actual or constructive knowledge regarding the patient's desire. Let's read that again. Regardless of whether the limitation is based on the healthcare provider's degree or actual or constructive knowledge. And there's the other part. Should the bill pass, there will be fewer regulations and restrictions related to facilities and staff providing abortion services that will allow for late-term abortions regardless of fetal viability, and remove providers' requirement to inform patients of alternatives and risks related to abortion. The bill is unlikely to pass, but Democratic leaders are pressing ahead. Yeah. Why are they pressing ahead? They knew for certain this would get 60 votes. In fact, they knew for certain it wouldn't get 50. But they did it anyway. Why? It's the politics of it. And that's what Democrats do. And Republicans do it sometimes too, but Democrats are just pros at it. They'd rather have the issue to bitch about than come to a compromise and try to solve the problem. Chuck Schumer, my senator, I say that with no pride at all, Republicans across the country have worked to dismantle Roe. They have worked to take away the rights of women. They went on to say Republican leaders across the country have essentially said to all women, your body, our choice. Hey, you ass. When you were mandatory VAX and mandatory you couldn't go to work, you were basically a prisoner in your own community. Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of businesses failed. Millions of people lost their jobs. What was your our body, our choice then, you ass? However, Senator Joe Manchin, one Democrat leader, will not vote in support of it. Make no mistake, this is not Roe v. Wade codification. After speaking of the Women's Health Protection Act, I can only say Democrats come up with great names for their bills. It's an expansion of it, and he's right. We should not be dividing the country any further than we've already divided, and it's really the politics of Congress that's dividing the country. He helps. I'm not a huge Manchin fan, but honestly, if they had to go along with Roe, I think states couldn't restrict abortion in the first trimester only. And after that, the states can basically do what they want. I think this actually might have passed. But the Democrats don't want that. They don't want to compromise because they can't run on the issue and bitch about it in the upcoming midterms. They want the issue, not to solve the problem. That's the way they've always done it. Unbelievable. It's not unbelievable. It's been their MO for, I don't know, decades and decades. It's an old, and Republicans to a certain extent do the same thing. They don't want to compromise and at least come to a decision on an issue, especially as something as emotional as abortion. They'd rather have the issue to pound their political opponents with it. And that's what they got. So now we'll see the commercials for the Senate Republicans that are up for re-election. Of the third that are up for re-election, I think 3/4 of them, 2/3 of them, something like that, are Republicans. Commercial after commercial after commercial after commercial, pounding the Republican incumbent or candidate about this vote. Yep. They got what they wanted. They wanted an issue to pound their opponents with. And for that, they won. Everybody else lost. Typical Democrats. Self-serving morons. I'll keep my language to a minimum. Self-serving morons that all they care about is control and power. And that's what this is really all about. Until the next time, goodbye and good luck.